He was just a nigga being a nigga.
Considered one of the fastest growing creators on the entire platform. With over 22 million subscribers, he's known for his comedic gameplay videos, wholesome energy, and the way he built a fan base without ever clout chasing. Almost 3 years ago, I made a video about CoryxKenshin. Some of y'all might remember that one. At the time, he had just called out YouTube for what he believed was biased treatment towards his content. He dropped a video titled Racism and Favoritism, where he spoke on how YouTube age restricted one of his videos, while other creators didn't get touched. And that moment sparked a real conversation, because it was essentially a conversation about how black content creators...
So he was trending because this girl just like a week ago, she came out and she put up a video of him and her. And they was in a hotel, and I admit it really was weird. He was like, she was like, "What did you do to me?" And he said something like, "Oh, you know, I did something to you while you were asleep." He was like, "You know, I got a fetish or something like that." But she was recording and he seen it too. And he was joking or whatever. So as far, but she admitted to him not sexually assaulting her. The R word, he didn't do that. So all she showed was like they text messages and stuff. And it was just him trying to get some pussy out of her. That's all it was. It was a nigga running game to get some pussy. That's all it was. And then a bunch of people come out, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe Cory would do this. I knew it was something wrong with him. Bless this and that." And the whole time is nothing wrong with him. It's just a dude trying to get some pussy. That's all.
Don't always get the same benefits as other creators. And as a black content creator myself, I felt like I had to speak on it back then. Like, but aside from it relating to black YouTubers, I also felt like, yo, I'm a creator too. So if a guy of this size who looks like me can go through it, then obviously it ain't safe for none of us, okay? Aside from that, I want to have a conversation about a recent controversy CoryxKenshin found himself in. Recently, some allegations surfaced against Cory. And spoiler alert, those allegations have already been proven false.
Yeah, like they saying that the text messages and stuff was fake, which I kind of believe after looking at some of the shit that people was saying or like how they was proving it. But like all the messages had different fonts and different times. And this video right here,
those allegations have already been proven. CoryxKenshin found himself
this video right here. This shit was at least in like, they said this shit was in like 2018. So if you doing that shit now and you butthurt about a toxic relationship from 2018 and now you just now sharing this shit, that is prime clout chasing, bro.
Against Cory. And spoiler alert, those allegations have already been proven false. But even with that being the case, I still think there's a conversation to be had about accountability, about false accusations, about how quickly the internet jumps to conclusions. So here's what happened. A few days ago,
she's one of them women who are like, she looks like one of them uppity women, or like that had a black mom, white dad, black mom, some shit like that. That's what she looks like. Ultimately, that's what she reminds me of. She grew up in the suburbs, all that type of shit. She has the hairstyle, she has the earring thing in her ear, the eyebrows match, and whatever the scarf is that everything matches exactly. But you could tell that she has some black in her.
A woman on TikTok who goes by the name of Panda Ninja came out with a story. She claimed that she had dated Cory back in 2018, and in a series of TikTok videos,
that's insane. Back in 2018,
explaining their relationship and detailing their interactions. Aside from the screenshots, there was...
And that don't even look like Discord.
One video she posted that really blew up.
Unless that's how Discord looked back then.
Narrative. In the clip, Cory and the woman are seen walking together, and she's recording as they casually talk. And at one point she asks him, "Did you watch me sleep?" And Cory responds by saying, "I did something to you while you were asleep too." Now, obviously, when taken out of context, you know, that kind of response
like
can sound alarming.
Bro,
so what ended up happening is
8 years later, bro,
reposted it and started spinning it into a narrative, a very serious one, about what really happened.
Y'all, I'm actually grieving the CoryxKenshin situation. What do you mean? The nigga I grew up watching the essay allegations with videotape proof. And this is crazy because so many niggas was saying this shit, but she came out herself and was like, he never did anything to her. He never did nothing to her.
Happened in that clip.
Did you watch me sleep? Did you watch me sleep?
Yeah, I actually did something to you while you were asleep too.
What?
I'm sorry, I just got this fetish that I do, you know.
Don't get me wrong, that shit is weird as hell, but I'll admit, when a nigga is comfortable enough with his shorty, they will say weird shit like this. This was just weird in general, though. Like, it's weird. It's weird. But when a nigga comfortable enough with his shorty, they'll say some weird shit like that, bro. I ain't even go sit here and lie. And you know this is old as hell because in the video, the nigga still has a lisp, but he's got his teeth done since then, and that whole lisp is gone.
I didn't hurt you. You're good, right?
What'd you do, Corey?
Don't worry about it.
Corey, what did you do?
Do nothing.
And what the fuck makes people think that if he actually did something, he would look dead in the camera and be like, yeah, I was touching you I was doing this and that while you were asleep. Why would he go and do that on camera? Knowing he had, even back then in like 2018, I'm pretty sure he had like 8 million, probably like 7 million subscribers or some shit like that. It's just dumb as hell. Like, it don't make no sense why people think he would do this shit on camera, knowing that this shit will possibly come out.
Look, this came right in my face. I didn't do anything.
He did something, and I'm gonna find out on the next episode of
Dragon Ball Z. Where you going with this?
And keep in mind, they were dating at the time, right? And it seems like they were joking. I mean, Corey was not a stranger to this woman at that particular time, right?
It seemed like
She's
a
laughing,
joke.
He's laughing, and to me, it comes across like this was just a dynamic they had off camera. That's the vibe that I got. I'm not gonna put a negative connotation on something that, in the moment, both people seem to be enjoying. If that was their thing, then so be it. I'm not gonna judge. But here's where things took a turn, right? She posted that same video with the caption, POV, you didn't know this would be one of the videos you'd look back on and realize he never cared. He just wanted to see how long you'd let.
Like, that caption literally makes no sense. What fucking sense does that make? How does that caption fit the video? How does that show he doesn't care? Like, what?
Let him hurt you. So now we're supposed to look at that video, the one where they were both, clearly playing around, and suddenly see it as something dark, as if Corey had, done something malicious to her while she was asleep. But obviously when you watch the clip, clearly this is two people joking around. There's no tension, no fear, just banter. And you can of course be the judge of that. Another one of the posts that went viral came from a Discord conversation they apparently had, where she told Corey she had cancer. His response was, that was the most passive-aggressive cancer reveal ever. No one really knows what was said before this, or what even happened privately. And at the end of the day...
And I hate when people make allegations and shit like this, but don't post everything. If you go do something like this, please post everything. Don't half-ass post anything ever. Like, give us the full story if you're gonna paint a picture. Don't paint half a fucking picture. Don't paint the picture and not color that bitch in. Give us the full story. Make it make sense to us.
It's a screenshot of a one-liner from a private conversation without full context, tone, or backstory. In another screenshot she shared, there was a different conversation, one that felt a little more personal. I don't know exactly what led up to it, but here's how it played out. She asks, wanted me how? Corey replies, like how I've had you. She then responds, like in a relationship type of way or something else. Corey answers, like something else. And she finishes.
And this is my thing. He didn't lie about nothing. He's not bullshitting. He's not giving her the runarounds. He answered her question exactly how she asked that bitch. If you ask me, that's not toxic. That's just a nigga being real about wanting some coochie. Like, bro, what?
That's kind of messed up. I wasn't a toy. So we got different fragments from a bigger conversation with no real insight into, the full back and forth or timeline. So in a situation like this, obviously it's important to note, being emotionally hurt or feeling used doesn't automatically mean that you were abused, right? Now, if that's what actually happened between them, I may not think it's morally right, but it doesn't mean that a crime was committed, right? Like it was claimed in this situation. People are in toxic and dysfunctional relationships every day by choice. If both parties willingly stay in something messy, that doesn't automatically make one person an abuser. It makes it a complicated, unhealthy relationship. But
that's all it is.
That kind of situation and try to reframe it online as something darker,
it's just a bad relationship.
A narrative,
especially because this nigga was honest and upfront about what he wanted.
It's not you seeking righteous justice. And unfortunately, that kind of thing always spills over. And it ends up hurting the people who actually need to be heard.
Like this, if he's verifying that she's verifying that he didn't do shit to her. If he didn't put his hands on you, just as a real nigga, man. If he didn't put his hands on you, He didn't essay you. He didn't manipulate you, because clearly in the messages, he's saying exactly what he wants from you. He answered your question exactly. I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck. You just in a relationship or a toxic relationship, you thought it was something that it wasn't. That's all it is. Should have moved the fuck on and went on with it. If he didn't do shit, leave him the fuck alone. Why are you bringing this up 8 years later? It don't make sense.
Now, those were just a few screenshots out of, I don't know exactly how many slides she posted, but it was a lot. Multiple TikToks, several posts, and a bunch of screenshots where she explained how Cory allegedly emotionally used and abused her and manipulated her and treated her poorly, according to her. And once the story started going viral, the internet did what it always does. People started condemning him, making assumptions, and painting him as someone who had done something deeply wrong, all based on screenshots and her side of the story. And the one thing that happened after this was one of her old friends, like, this woman who accused CoryxKenshin of these things, she ended up coming out and she had a couple interesting things to say.
I had literally just posted a video about my experience with a woman who accused CoryxKenshin of emotional abuse. Let me add a little bit of extra third-party context here. This is little 21-year-old me and Nami at the time. Notice that the side of her head is shaved. I'm saying this because even though the timeline wasn't confirmed based off of the videos that she posted and the messages that she was trying to circulate not having a timestamp, I'm pretty sure this was around the time I lived with her, if not slightly before. When we did live together, she did very briefly tell me about Cory, but more in like we didn't actually date, we just kind of talked, but because he was busy with YouTube stuff, it didn't work out. But while I lived with her, before I even moved out here in May of 2017, she was already actively dating someone, a mutual friend of ours who I will not name because he's not into the drama. It's been 8 years. And then immediately after they broke up, she was dating somebody else. So things just didn't really add up.
So she fucked up in the head.
Not to mention, there's gonna be a lot of
she sounds like she doesn't have a mental state where she's capable of being alone. And she probably doesn't. She probably, honestly, probably just not okay with the fact that he's so fucking successful. I mean, he was successful before her, but it's probably hurting her feelings that he's so successful and that she had the opportunity to fuck with him and be with him and all that shit. And she probably fucked it up. I just don't think she's mentally right. I don't think she's mentally right in the head.
People who know her and are going to be able to call her out because we had a humongous friend group in K-Town in New York. So really interesting to see how many people are willing to come out and tell you guys that they know for a fact that she's lying because she's just always kind of been a shady person.
It eventually got to the point where she went live on TikTok to respond. And she said, I said 1,000 times that I did not get essayed by Cory.
And I'm going to say this again. I never said he essayed me.
And then she also put up another post saying, for clarification, he did not essay me. But that only came after the whole thing had already gone viral. So the story, as you probably guessed, blew up. Cory's a pretty big name in the YouTube space, and there's hardly ever any drama surrounding him. He barely even pops out for his own content, let alone anything messy. So when something like this hits his name, it's gonna spread fast. Now, even after it was made clear that nothing had actually happened, like nothing criminal had happened, people started kind of, moving the goalposts, saying things like, okay, maybe he didn't do anything illegal, but based on those conversations, he was still being emotionally abusive and whatnot. And that, of course, led to this entire story blowing up. We've spoken about topics like this before. Some of y'all might have seen my video on the YouTuber and rapper Young Philly, who got arrested last year in Australia on serious rape allegations.
On a daily basis.
Now, that story was an actual legal case. He got extradited from one city to another by the Australian government. There's an entire investigation, charges, and a case over his head. Those allegations are on the record. They're real, they're active, and they're being handled by the Australian authorities. But this CoryxKenshin situation is obviously different. This is someone coming online and trying to represent something that happened as one thing when it's clearly something else. And look, I don't really know, the full relationship dynamic between, Cory and this woman, right? But what I do know is that situations like this obviously doesn't help real victims of SA or abuse. It waters down what it means to come forward. It turns serious issues into meaningless drama. And when that happens, everyone loses. But especially the people who've been through real pain and now have to fight even harder to be believed. I can't speak for what she thinks her agenda was, but the way it looks to me, it looks like someone who wanted to go viral, not someone who genuinely wanted to try to hold another person accountable for real.
That's what I was saying. All of this just seems like a big clout chase, in my opinion. Like, I don't see, I don't see what she's gonna gain from this. She's gonna have her little two minutes of fame because she's not even gonna get the whole 15 minutes for real. Because I doubt he even addresses this shit. I think he's just gonna leave, take his break again, and bounce, and not do shit else. Go back to playing his video games and shit. I don't even think he's gonna pay any attention to
that
this
they might
shit.
have done. Because if that was the goal, you wouldn't leave room for this much confusion. You wouldn't present something one way, then backtrack after it spreads. You know, speaking of this conversation, right, I believe that there are way more women in this world who don't report when, you know, something happens to them in a situation like this than the ones who actually do. Now, why is that? Well, the number one reason that I believe that, because deep down, a lot of these women, they don't really feel like they're going to be believed. There's so many women walking around with stories they've never told anybody. They were in situations where they felt helpless, where their boundaries were crossed beyond anything they could have ever imagined.
I personally know a lot of motherfuckers who done went through some shit. And I get why they don't tell, because a lot of times nobody go believe them and they go think they tripping. And it's so fucked up because I'm not even going to say the black households, just households in general. It'd be a lot of the times, it'd be somebody within your immediate family, a uncle, a really close cousin, a stepfather, a father, where I see this shit, the daughter, whoever will say something, even the son. They'll say, hey, dad's been doing this. Uncle so-and-so has been doing this. And the mom will be so fucking defensive about the shit. Like, so fucking defensive about it. And they won't do shit. It's just like, I don't get it. I never get why the moms be like that.
Once that happened, it wasn't just their trust that was taken.
And then after that, no, they don't see the point in telling us they can't even trust their moms. After that point,
who said, you're safe with me, they couldn't feel it, they couldn't believe it. Because that trust was taken advantage of in a previous interaction they had with somebody. A part of who they were got left behind in that moment. So a lot of women who have things done to them, they end up staying silent because they've seen what happens when someone speaks up in a lot of situations. They end up getting questioned, picked apart, and a lot of times even blamed themselves. And if the person they're accusing is
I've just seen that situation too many times.
This is why I'm always going to believe in holding that space for victims to speak up. But here's the thing.
Way too many times.
When people lie about stuff like this, they don't just damage the person they're accusing. They damage all the women I'm talking about. The ones who, to most people, aren't even real. Just background noise in an online debate. Just another thread, another headline, another comment section argument. But those women actually exist. They carry real pain. And when someone makes a false claim for attention, it makes it even harder for real survivors to speak up and be heard. With how fast things move on social media these days, a false portrayal can reach millions of people before the truth even has a chance to speak. And once that image is out there,
I think this is one of the things that I hate most is when anything happens on social media where it's a big content creator, and even when they don't do something and it's just an accusation, everybody be like, oh my God, I knew he was like this. I knew it was something wrong. Something had to be off. I just knew it. I knew it. I knew it. It's like, bro, what? What? You was keeping tabs on this nigga. You was keeping tabs on the nigga. You was watching all his videos, and now you just decide, it's something wrong with this nigga. I always knew he was like that. Like, I already know 9 times out of 10, if I blow up and all that shit, motherfuckers gonna be posting DMs of me in their DMs and this shit and that shit and shit from my OnlyFans and that. And I'm just like, you know, it is what it is. I'll take that shit on the chin because, yes, I was in bitches' DMs a lot. I had an OnlyFans. You feel me? Like, if I'm single, I'm going to do single shit. You feel me? But, hey, you know, to each their own and shit. But, hey, it just blows me that people can really be like, oh, I knew there was something wrong with him. Like, what? Unless they did something, there's really no reason to ever be like, oh, I knew it was something wrong with him.
It sticks.
No reason.
And that's the danger. And a lot of times, too, we've seen this in so many stories, but people don't care about hearing the truth because the lie is more entertaining. It gets more clicks, more comments, more outrage. It spreads faster. And it feels better to believe when you're looking for someone to judge. And that's the problem. It becomes more about gossip than actually caring about what happened to another human being. Whether that's someone having something done to them, or like in this case, someone falsely being accused of doing something they did not do. Either way, the humanity gets lost. I look at the story and honestly just think, this looks like 2 people who are in a toxic and dysfunctional relationship. or a situationship, or whatever you want to call it, over 7 years ago. And obviously, since I don't know the full story, because what usually gets televised is only a fraction of the truth, I'm not going to sit here and judge the relationship itself too harshly, because I don't really know, right? I'm just an outsider. What I will judge, however, is the fact that this person
was you shaking ass on your OnlyFans. I'd be vulnerable with niggas, and this is what they said to me. No, I was not shaking no ass on my OnlyFans, bruh. That's crazy to say. You know what's crazy is, like, while we on this topic, I'm straight. I've never did shit with a man. I'll never do shit with a man. And, like, I'm just being very open. Never did anything with a man, but gee, they was posting me on, like, gay Twitter pages, bro. Mind you, I've never posted any content of anything with another man, or have I ever did it outside of being on camera. When all my OnlyFans was not, it was sex tapes and all that type of shit, and it was just me. And these niggas was posting me on gay pages and all that shit. I'm just like, bro, I don't understand it. I don't understand. It was just weird, bro, because like y'all forcing this image on me.
And for that reason, like, it's really hard to believe.
I already had issues with that before I was even doing it. And that's the part I think is important to focus on, because it's not about this woman and it's not really about Cory. Because at the end of the day, most people are just going to move on after the drama dies down and ignore the damage that was done along the way. And I think that's a shame, because at the end of the day, this kind of story is about the women out there that they don't even have the words to describe. And stories like this makes it harder for, those voices to actually break through the noise. That's what I gotta say. Anyway, if you made it this far, drop a like on this video if you enjoyed this conversation. I'll go ahead and drop you a like, gang. I'll go ahead and drop you a like. I don't know. Like, all in all with this conversation about CoryxKenshin, I'm not a fan of the whole, damn, you heard something about him with no proof of anything actually being done. And y'all are like, oh, I knew it was something wrong. I didn't like this nigga, this, and that. It just don't make sense to me. It just don't make sense to me, bro. Like, it's lame as fuck in my opinion. I'm not a fan of it. I hate people like that, because I always think that people that are like that, they're just looking at what one person said and they're just piggybacking off of that shit. That's all they fucking doing, is piggybacking off that shit. Like, they have no mind of their own. And it'd be people like that's just like, oh, you're weird, bro. You're just weird as hell. That's just my opinion on that shit.